It's wet, Mum. Yee! Heavier, heavier. Sorry, no microphone. We're actually just up here to, oh, I've just noticed, not only is it no microphone, I haven't even got any face on. Oh dear. A bare face, right, okay. Well, we don't have a microphone because we just nipped up to get something, but it is miserable. Absolutely miserable, but we needed coriander and we needed lettuce. So here we are. In fact, we're both very soggy. That's what Mum's just said. She just said, well, that's what growing your own means when it's not in your garden. We actually have to get here to pick our stuff. We're saying give snips.
Yes. Did you want to go into the polytunnel?
My goodness, it looks sad in here. Basil's still going strong though. I'm just in here for some coriander. What have I done with those snips? Some coriander. And I'll just take a couple of the last tomatoes, but I think we've got, the blight has finally hit us in here. Not that there's really much for it to hit. Sorry if you can't hear me. The rain's quite loud on the roof. Actually, sorry, this isn't a very flattering angle. Nothing about this is very flattering, chaps. But considering I can see the black patches on the stems, I don't think any of this has got much life in it. So I'm actually going to just take all of the tomatoes, as in the fruit, out of here. And when the sun comes out tomorrow, which is promised it's going to do, I will strip out the rest of the tomatoes. I think that's the best course of action. Actually, it is Halloween today. It is the 31st, so... I just need to cut some of those off. Right, we are soaking, the girlies are in bed, and we've got the bits that we needed for dinner, so it's home time. Okay, survived that. I've stacked all the tomatoes that we got out of the polytunnel that are not ripe into these little crates. So tomatoes ripen absolutely fine once you've taken them off the plant. It's not like chilies. Chilies ripen in colour, but they don't really ripen in flavour. But tomatoes doesn't seem to make that much of a difference. If it gets to green tomato time, as long as they've actually got to the right size. So for example, I don't hold out much hope for ones like this. So this should be, you can tell by the shape of it, this should be a tomato this size. The likelihood of that turning into a red, decent tasting tomato is almost nil. I want to keep it because if it does go red, I'll just make sauce out of it, and it'll be a filler. But generally, not so much. However, tomatoes like this that have got to their appropriate size, or at least close to the appropriate size, should ripen up with no trouble whatsoever. They don't need light, they just need warmth. So we've stacked them in these trays. We've kept them really far apart from each other. We could just stack them all in one tray, obviously, but the reason that we're being a bit cautious is because we think those tomatoes had blight. If the blight has got into the tomatoes themselves, they will never ripen. They will just start going black, and that'll be the end of it. So we've just got these really, really well spread out so that we can keep a really close eye. You see, this one is going red already. That was a big boy, and that's, starting to turn. Some of these, I think they should be all right. It really is just a case of, well, if there's blight in them, we'll know about it pretty fast, but we want there to be lots of space. So yeah, I'm just keeping these all stacked up. In fact, these two, they look good. They're definitely going to turn red. I've stuck a banana in there. I can't even remember what the chemical is, but they always say put a banana in because something that a ripe banana gives off, some gas. I wish I could remember what it is. I can't, but something it gives off helps things to ripen. So just going to stack these here. I'll put a bit of newspaper over the top of them and put them in the corner of the living room and just keep checking them and hope that the blight leaves us alone. Anything that did look a bit dodgy, I got rid of immediately. So hopefully we'll be all right. Well, the weather is a darn sight nicer today than it was yesterday. In fact, I think it's coat off. It's coat off, chaps. I know. So we've got 3 things to do today, 3 main things to get done this morning. Ye old weather forecast says this is going to turn to black nasties by like 2 o'clock, so just after lunch. So 3 jobs to get done in quick succession. I'm going to sow some broad beans. We're going to get them. We weren't going to do overwintered broad beans, but Mum got the FOMO, and she's like, we've got to get some broad beans in, we've got to get some broad beans in. So she went and had to go buy these this morning. We have to water the polytunnel and take out the tomatoes that we stripped last night. They just need to be cleared out of the way now. So I'll get them gone, give it a really good soak in there, because it's actually surprisingly dry, even though I gave it a really good water last week. And what was the other thing? We got some brassicas that desperately need staking. We've had quite a lot of wind in the last week or so, and some of those brassicas are just like, they've been rocking around in the ground, and brassicas hate that. So that is my 3 main jobs for this morning. Shall I write them on the blackboard? Just for added satisfaction so we can tick them off? Yes, I think so. Fab. Let's hope the sunshine lasts while we're in action. Okay, only question is, what are we going to do first? And I think I'm going to hit the polytunnel first. Yeah. Oh, and the polytunnel's already open. Were you looking for these? Okay. Tomatoes are all just coming straight off. They have got blight in here. If you can see this black patch on the stem, this black patch on the stem, classic blight. But do you know what? Even if it's not blight, they're ready to come out. It is the end of the line for the tomatoes. I've picked everything off them that can possibly be of any use to anybody. And we'll just strip the rest of this out. Look at the size of some of these stems, they're absolute whoppers. So that is officially the end of the 2025 indoor tomato season. That's it. This pile of remnants is all we've got left. I've heard over the years lots of people say stuff about, oh gosh, if you get blight, you've got to destroy the plants and you can't put them in your compost and all that kind of thing. And it's fine. What you don't want is to spread it to other things. If you've got tomatoes in one place that has blight and you've got other tomatoes that don't have blight, you don't want to be going wafting the, the bits of blight around because it's airborne. But there's a girl I know who has a vegetable patch in North London, actually, so not too far away from here. And every year her tomatoes get blight like the rest of us. And she has a chop and drop method across her whole garden. So whereas we're chopping these tomatoes down and putting them in the wheelbarrow to take to the compost, everything that's finished, she just chops it down and drops it onto the ground underneath. And it just like forms its own, almost like a forest kind of situation where everything from above just drops down and rots, and then she plants through that for the next things. And she's planted her tomatoes in the same place year on year with the rotting remains of her blighty tomatoes underneath. And by the time the winter's gone past and it's spring again and she plants into that, she doesn't get blight any faster than anybody else. So I am confident that it's fine to put in the compost heap. Yes. Right, on that note, I've got some spring onions that need planting in here. Actually, I was going to plant them outside, but I think it's just a little bit late for them to establish well now. So now I've got a little bit more space in here. I'm just going to go and get those from the greenhouse and plonk them in. Right there, madam. Right there. Oh, I'm going to sneeze. Oh, excuse me. Right. These spring onions are actually just about the last thing in here that requires planting out. Peas aren't up yet, but I can see the soil disturbance, so they're obviously starting to come up. The shallots will just sit there doing their thing very slowly. I do have a few of these endive actually that really should go outside, but I might just plonk them in there and see if we get a little bit of winter salad leaf rather than letting them turn into a big heartiness. Yeah, I may as well, because otherwise they're just going to die. We're not going to be planting them anywhere, are they? I'll just take them with me. And there's these. Actually, they have got, this is a mixed bag. This is where obviously the seed blew over. I've got two chard in there. One something that is a brassica, so it might be a turnip of some sort, and then I've got a mustard green in the top, but I'm not going to plant them out because they're all entangled and the mustard green's got aphids. So I don't really want to be putting that in the greenhouse, in the polytunnel, sorry. Right, is that what we need? Yes, it is. Let's go. It's funny this, look mum. So this is the Lilia.
Yes.
And this is the Ishikura. Ishikura came up really well. The Lilia is really pants.
Yeah, no.
I'm trying to remember if it was a really old packet of seed or something, but maybe. But what, we've got about 10. These are perfect. Yeah, these we've got about 10. I'm going to stick these in as well. This is just the endive. It's funny, we have had some really quite chilly nights, but this basil is just keeping going and it's regrowing. You know, when I did that really big cutback of it, all of this is new growth. So my plan of this all coming out and being able to plant around there has not worked out very well. But let's get some, how many have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4 of the big ones. Okay, what's next? Probably sow broad beans, I think. Broad beans. Right. Okay, so for my first instinct, like I was going to put them in the root trainers because that's what we normally start beans off in, because beans have a very, very strong initial root and they want to go straight down, which is, these are the really long ones, and then they don't like being disturbed. So when you go to plant them, you just pull these apart and you can slide your plant out without damaging the root. However, the support that I'm going to put these up, these beans, there's actually only space for 9 of them. And of the early beans, I think that's all we need to grow because we'll be sowing another lot in spring. And there's a lot more the 9 slots in here. And then you end up, because they can't sit on their own, you end up having a mostly empty tray. And actually, I think what I'm going to do is just plant them straight in here. It's not ideal in terms of depth, but they're not actually going to be in here for that long because we are going to get them outside, you know, once they're up to about here. So I think that's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to take 9 of these and sow them. You normally get a really good germination rate with broad beans, and especially since I've actually just, like I said, this morning bought this packet of seed, I think they should be all right. So I'm only going to sow 9. If we don't get 9, we don't get 9. One. So broad beans are super tough, but not all varieties are that great for overwintering. This is Aguadulce. I normally grow Aguadulce Claudia. This is not Aguadulce Claudia. It's Aguadulce Super Simonia. Ooh. But it's also one that you can sow in the autumn. Some of them are just a little bit too soft for that. And even like Aguadulce Claudia, which is your classic overwintering ones, they do tend to go a little black in the winter. If we have a cold winter, they go black, and then you just have to keep the faith because they often resprout from the bottom. Sometimes they don't. So what was it, 2-3 years ago when we had like -8, -9 here, or it was -8 in the greenhouse, so whatever temperature it was outside, they didn't survive. The winter sown ones just didn't survive, and that's the first year though that they haven't, so it does have to get really quite nippy. And then come spring, I'll sow an early one of these again because they can deal with the cold. So about February, I'll get another lot of these in, probably another 9 because we'll do them in 3 rows. And then come April time, I'll sow a softer broad bean, which is probably going to be Eleanor Express, which is a particularly fine spring broad bean. And then we will have 9, 9 and 9. And they'll all be producing beans at different times. That is the idea. Okay, let's squash these down. One, 2, 3, 3. Because I'm only sowing the 9, I'm just going to check over the beans and check that they aren't sort of cracked and crumbled and broken. But all of these, like I say, they're brand new seed. They look really good. And it is a case of putting them up on their side and pushing them in like that so that they don't rot out. This is particularly relevant if you're sowing outside for winter. Because you can see the shape of the bean. I mean, I say this every year, but it does actually make a difference. If you plant your bean like that in the ground and water pools on top of it, particularly if it's outside and you've got a lot of rain, obviously it's that time of year. If you plant it like that, the likelihood is it will rot out before it's germinated. So you want it on its edge and push down like that. Just gives it a better chance of germinating before the rot sets in. So it's a bit funny. Broad beans is one of those ones which is a misunderstood veg and hated by a lot of people from like childhood broad bean trauma. I love them, and one of the things that I'm proudest of, I think, probably having started doing these vlogs, is the number of people who've watched some of the early cooking videos I did, one of which was about broad beans on toast where you double pod them, the number of people who've come back to me and said, I have hated broad beans my whole life and you've converted me. Ah, it's just joy. It's just joy because I love them, but I do completely understand. I always double pod them because I don't like that like grey flaccid sack that's kind of around the outside of it. It's just not pleasant. Some people love them and I get that. I don't. Double podded, you just can't beat them. They're just wonderful. So, right, that is the broad beans sown for overwinter. Let's hope all 9 of them come up. I haven't put any leeway for error in there, so hopefully all 9 come up. Otherwise, we're going to have some gaps. Right, let's go and tick that off the list. I think we did that on purpose. Right. Do you want me to help you? Yeah, you can take that one out. I think there's not one on your end, is there? So, staking the brassicas. We've got 3 Brussels sprouts on the end of this bed that really need a bit of help. They are not particularly strong looking plants anyway, and they're very top heavy, which has meant that because I haven't staked them already, they've just been blowing around like nonsense, and brassicas hate their roots being disturbed. It's a real problem, particularly if you've got club root, which we do. Although this Brussels sprout is actually supposed to be a club root resistant one. And to be fair, they have got bigger than any other Brussels sprouts we've tried to grow in recent years. Club root, because it stops them having the stabilizing roots out the side, it just literally forms the roots into a club. They rock all over the place. And then as they're rocking, they also loosen the soil around them, which makes the problem worse. So before this wind picks up and before the winter, most of these brassicas I'm going to stake. The calets that are in the other end of this bed are actually looking really, really strong, and I don't think I'm going to need to stake them, but I'll keep an eye. Like I say, these have been rocking around quite a lot, and because they've got those really spindly stems currently, and then the top growth is really wide and the ground underneath them is so loose, I'm going to stake them and then like this just really walk all the way across them and compact it as much as possible to try and minimize that. While we're on the subject of things rocking around and not liking it, the asparagus, half of this asparagus has turned yellow, which is the time to cut it down. You want it to go yellow, which means that it's taken back as much nutrients as it's sort of going to take back into the root system. But again, asparagus hates movement. So once the fronds have gone yellow, you really want to cut them off at the bottom. I tend to leave about 3-4 inches of stem on each one because it means you can see exactly where each of the crowns are still over the winter, and when you mulch, you know, you can make sure that you know where they're going to come up. If you leave all of this enormous sort of feathery plumage on top, they rock around so much during the winter and the wind and the rain, and once they get rained on, they get really heavy and they move even more, and they will destabilize the crowns that are under the surface that you really don't want that to happen to. But now there's absolutely no reason to keep them, so we are just chopping them off. Well, we're actually going to head home because I'm starving, and we didn't bring anything with us because it is now just coming up to 2 o'clock, and the sun is supposed to have gone by now. It's supposed to be, you know, black clouds, and have a look at the sky. Have a look at it. This is what I'm currently looking at outside of the shed. It's magnifico. What a day. What a day. So tomorrow says that it's going to start crappy and get better. So I'm hoping we'll be back up here tomorrow afternoon. But yeah, I got all 3 things done off the list, which is excellent. I mean, there's always stuff that needs doing. But that was the 3 objectives for today, and they have been achieved. And I've got leftover dinner from last night that's like singing to me from the fridge at home. So I've got to go home. Got to go home and have some lunch. And then we'll see where we are. Good afternoon. Well, they didn't lie. It was grim this morning, and now it's beautiful again. I'm loving this, getting a bit of winter sunshine. And something I forgot to mention yesterday was that it's actually now November. Ooh, can't believe it. I mean, every time we have a change of season, a change of month, whatever, I'm always like, oh, I can't believe it. But it's true. October seemed to absolutely fly past. So that means that next week's video is going to be a bit of a plot tour, because we've done quite a lot of planting out and pulling out. So like the shift in seasons has happened in the last couple of weeks, and I don't think I've done a plot tour since the beginning of September. So we'll do a bit of a catch up as we go into the winter propers. I'll tell you one thing that we do have a lot of going on at the moment is beautiful flowers. So I'm really looking forward to doing a bit of a tour of what we've got going on flower wise, because it's just stunning for this time of year, and in like the autumn sunshine with that really clear pale blue sky, which we actually have at the moment. The light's beautiful. So it's actually quite late. It's like just coming up to 4 o'clock, and at the moment it sunsets at like 4:30. So it's quite late, but let me turn the camera around. The sky's gorgeous. Look at that. And then just the beautiful, actually it doesn't show up that well on the camera, but everything is just yellow in the distance. And I love that colouring. You know, with the real late sun. In fact, let's go that way. It's going to be really bright over there. The yellow and the blue of this time of year when you get a sunny, clear sky like that. It's just gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Oh no, I know. I wanted to give you a Winnie update, because that Win is all back to looking glorious. Look at her in her finery. Hey, none of that bald chicken anymore. None of that bald chicken anymore, hey. Violet hasn't had quite such a smooth transition. She's still looking a little bit scrappy, but yeah, absolutely glorious, Winnie. And who else has had their transition is the complete fluff is back on Lil. I won't disturb her while she's having her dins, but I will show you her in just a sec. But yeah, Winnie, well, in fact, the 2 Wyandottes, I love the shape of them. I mean, obviously, we've got the Pekins who've got the hilarious pantaloons on. Love them. Hey, Rubes. But yeah, the Wyandottes are just like really serious looking birds. Like they look like they could do some damage. So just up, I'm going to pick some chilies because more of them need picking. Last week's Friday like extra video thing that I'm doing, we made some chili powder, which was nice, easy peasy, but it is nice. And the flavour difference between like a bog standard shop bought chili powder and when you start making your own is just absolutely incredible. Right, let's pick some chilies. Not sure what else we really needed to do actually. It's just that the sun was out and we wanted to come up here. There's always leaf raking, of course, but had enough of that for the moment. Get the snips. Where are them snips? Snip, 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 snip. Mum had them. It's actually Sunday today and I'm doing a roast. Oh, wowzers. Okay, I was just about to tell you that it's Sunday and I'm doing a roast dinner, but that has been entirely overtaken by the fact that one of these is going red. So this is my cayenne peppers. Currently, up until now, they've all looked like this. I mean, we've had masses and masses of chilies, and to be fair, I have been eating quite a lot of green ones, but masses of them. No sign of red yet until I've just looked down here and look at that. There is some red happening on that cayenne pepper. Oh look, and this one too. Can you, it's not showing up very well on the camera, but can you see how that's like less green than say if I can pull that one in? Can you see that? It's just a bit red. It's a little bit red. Just a little bit red. It's a little bit red. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We might have some red cayenne peppers. Oh, before the weather gets too cold and they just give up. Oh, that is very, very exciting, chaps. It's nice that at this time of year there's still like really exciting things happening. Or maybe I'm just really easily excited. Okay, so we've got hot lemons and sugar rush peach that need picking in here. When I was having a bit of a rummage around in here yesterday, I was surprised actually. You can see that they are being affected by the cold, like slowly some of the leaves are going. But actually, there's a lot in here that could be picked. I mean, look at that. Oh, it's a stripy one too. It's just got the little, is that going in? Come on. It's just got the little veins of the stripes just starting on there. And then quite a few hot lemons to come off. So I'm just going to pick some of those. Okay, basket set. Okay. Well, like I said, it's roast day today, so I'm going to take some of this sage home with us. I'm going to give this a really big cut back in the spring, see if we can get it into a bit of a better shape. I had to lob, it'd come all the way out to here, and I lobbed a lot of it off one side because we've got this little oregano growing under here, which actually I'll take some of that too, that was completely smothered, and it's come back a troop, so that's really good. Originally we had quite a lot of different herbs in here actually. Obviously we've got rosemary on that end, we've got garlic chives, we had thyme and marjoram, we had all sorts in here, but this absolute thug just took it over and I wasn't on it enough to keep it in check. So that is going to be, we'll rejuvenate this next year, I think. Oh, I've got spiders in my hair. I just walked into a spider's web. Luckily, I don't mind spiders. Okay, that'll do. We've got a billion bay leaves at home, so we don't need that. That's a bit, actually, we've got the greens, so we don't need anything else. Get these in the basket. Actually, so this is the basket that's got the chilies in it, but look at these. Whoopsie daisy. Mum's just been picking the dahlias. This time of year, when everything's just a bit grey and a bit dark, and then you've got that, bam, absolutely beautiful. Love them. Like I say, I'll be doing flower tour to start next week's vlog. Actually, the nasturtiums are having a whole second life this late in the year after really quite struggling with the heat that we had earlier. They're all looking, in fact, you can probably see just a couple here. This is a very straggly pot, but we've got some beautiful ones around. So yeah, that would be, wee, that'd be good, wouldn't it? Face first over a rake. Yeah, so next week, that's what we're going to be doing. Right, I'm going to go home and cheers you with a glass of wine and call it a day for this week. Call it a day for this week. Call it a week. You know what I'm trying to say. I'll see you at home with a glass of wine is basically what I'm trying to say. Okay, pack up time. Cheers, chaps. It's November. Ooh. The nights are drawing in and it's getting all cosy and we're doing all of the winter jobs at the allotment. As we've been cracking on pretty well with the winter jobs. It was good getting the first load of asparagus down. That was excellent. The stuff that's in the other bed just isn't yellow enough yet, so we're just waiting for that to kind of go over. We're actually going to renovate the other asparagus bed. We were going to kind of migrate upwards to where I've put the new asparagus. I say the new asparagus. The asparagus that I cut down this week is the newer of the asparagus that we've got. And we were going to kind of migrate up, but I've actually decided that there's a very large chunk of the old asparagus bed that actually hasn't had any asparagus in it for a really long time. I can't remember what happened. There was an event. Something happened to the soil. Not like a poisoning, but like it got turned over or dug out or something. Can't remember what it was now. Oh, actually, I think I do remember. We had a girl staying with us for a while, a good number of years ago now. Girl staying with us for a while, somebody I worked with, and she was a very keen, but I would say possibly not enormously skilled in the gardening department, and but very keen, and she did some weeding for us and we asked her to weed that area in the winter, and I remember now she dug out all of the asparagus crowns from one side because obviously when you dig down it's just a massive root under the ground and she didn't know what she was doing. Now I remember why we've got no asparagus on that end. That's what it was. Yeah, that was great. That was really great. But anyway, it does mean that we've got this big gap there, and we were going to sort of slowly migrate the asparagus up the allotment, but actually that patch is just really, really good for it. So that section, I'm going to get new asparagus in next spring. We've ummed and ahed about it, but we've finally made a decision. That's what we're going to do. So why was I talking about asparagus? Oh yeah, chopping down the asparagus. That was a good job. We'll carry on doing that over, you know, the next couple of weeks as they start yellowing off. What else did we do? Yeah, end of the tomatoes. Tomato season 2025 is officially over. Actually, that's not entirely true because the ones that are outside are still doing really well. The blight-resistant varieties that we grew outside. Oh, what stunners! The one that's really, really been a bit of a revelation in that sense is Najina. It's a plum tomato. We've had masses of them. They've grown really, really well outside. And blight resistant variety tomatoes have come on leaps and bounds, because they used to be pretty pants in terms of flavour, because what had been bred into them was this blight resistance, and kind of the flavour and the other sides of them have kind of fallen by the wayside. But obviously that's really changed now. And yeah, Nagina, absolutely wonderful. Burlesque, wonderful. What was the other one? And Crocchini. Was it? Yeah, Crocchini. They were the three. So it was a cherry, a large one, and the plum Nagina. Outstanding. Really impressed, and they're still going. They're not going to be going for much longer, to be fair. They're looking a bit sad, but they are still going. So that's something. So yeah, end of the indoor tomato season. So next week, I'm going to do a plot tour. I'm going to start with a plot tour anyway, because we haven't done one for absolutely ages. And quite a lot has come out, quite a lot has gone in. So there's a lot to look at that. And I said before, the flowers, I really hope I can find a sunny day to do it, because in the sunshine, like in the morning sun, the flowers are just looking outstanding. So beautiful. I don't know whether it was the really dry summer we had, and now that we've had this sort of influx of rain, like things have really taken off. But for this time of year, things are looking absolutely lovely on the flower front. Really beautiful. And obviously a lot of that's going to come to an end fairly soon. The moment we have the first frost, all of the dahlias and everything will be wiped out. So yeah, I better get this flower-based plot tour done pretty sharpish, I think. And then what else is there to say? Friday video. I have absolutely no idea what the video is going to be on Friday this week yet. We'll see what I come up with. It may or may not be in the kitchen. I've got a couple of excursions to do this week, so it might be an excursion video. Might be a pub crawl. I don't know, chaps. But anyway, cheers to it being November. November already. Holy smoke. We'll be planting chilies before we know it. So thanks to everybody who's watched. I really appreciate it. And I've had some really great comments about the Friday videos. So thanks to everybody who's been watching those as well. I know it's a slightly different subject than this, so I do understand that like people are not necessarily going to want to watch me standing around in the kitchen when they are really after a bit of gardening. But yeah, thanks to everybody who's been watching those, and thank you to my patrons, who are the people whose names you see at the end of this vlog. They really are keeping this going, which has been just an absolute lifeline the last couple of months. So cheers to them, and cheers to everybody else. I hope November is going to be a fantastic month. Fingers crossed for loads of winter sunshine. That's what we're after. Cheers, chaps.